Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Figuarts Dragon Ball Daima Piccolo Daima figure. I know this figure came out a while ago. I got around to getting it finally. I was going to review it the whole time. I told you guys I'm going to do it. I know, the neck is weird. We're going to review it. Maybe it's still a good figure, and I'm happy to tell you there are definitely some good things about this figure. Some things that aren't so great as well, as you might have been able to guess, but it's not like it's gonna probably upset too many people overall, and I think some of you will like it a whole bunch. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. Alright, before we look at the figure, let's go ahead and look at my package. Good packaging. I like that the background is a different color than the figure. It makes him stand out nicely. He's still covered at least about halfway with the cardboard there, but still good looking package, and that's okay. Their photos here have been pretty good, except for they usually do one weird one, but in this case they did an extra weird one at the bottom. Here's the foot, and the back still has very tiny photos, so not the most intriguing packaging out of all the Figuarts lines, unfortunately, but it is a package that holds the figure, and that's all I care about for packaging, really, because I would rather not pay for fancy packaging. Alright, so this guy is in stock at Big Bad Toy Store if you want to get one. I'll put a link in the description below. He stands just about 16.5 centimeters. That's going to make him roughly, let's call it 6.5 inches. Of course, you can add a little bit of extra height there if you wanted to, but we're not going to do that. Golly, that's a strange thing. Okay, so here he is up against his cousin, and they're about the same height. It's pretty close. I think Darwin might have just a, well, it depends on what you do with Piccolo's neck, I guess. Anyway, alright, let's set that aside. Let's do a question of the day. Are you collecting the Daima figures? And if you are, is it because you watch the show, or is it because you collect all the Figuarts Dragon Ball figures, or are you mixing them in with your other figures? Tell me what you have going on. Alright, I have this video slightly bright because of the dark purple. I hope it's not going to wash out the green. Hopefully it looks good for you guys. Okay, so let's talk about this. I like a lot of things about this figure. There are some good things. I'm not going to do the thing where, like, when Vegeta and Goku came out and everybody said, oh, these are the best Dragon Ball figures ever, and they're actually really not. I don't know what's going on with the collecting community these days, but it's like people have to say what they bought is good and try to say it's like the best thing ever every time in order for them to feel good enough on social media. It's weird. And it's led to, I think, us getting a lot more crappy figures. This is not a crappy figure, though. I think he's better than both Goku and Vegeta in many ways. There are a couple ways that he's not, though. So let's go ahead and take a look at him. Generally speaking, he looks nice. He does come mostly with his arms squished in the package, and maybe that's more accurate to how he looks in the show, because the show does have that more slender build to everybody, but you can pop his arms out pretty far, and it gives him that broader look that most Piccolos don't really have in figure form, and I think it looks nice. It makes him look a lot better. So I'm happy about that. I like the overall silhouette. I like that this part is at least flush rather than the way they did Trunks, where he had the giant lumps on the side, where it kind of looked like that all the time. You don't have to do that on this guy, mostly, so that's good. He's generally pretty good looking. The purples are not super glossy. The green, everything's pretty decent. There's not any shading or anything going on, but it looks clean. The line work on the arms, maybe not perfect, but definitely good enough, and the faces look pretty good as well. I don't like this. The way they decided to get fancy with his clothing is weird. That's not helping. That's not helping posability or anything, really. It just looks bad. It just looks bad and weird. And that's somebody who had an idea. They tried it, and they just went with it, even though it's not a good idea. I cannot even wrap my head around why that is a thing, and there's another thing going on here that sucks also. But generally, he looks good enough. I wouldn't pay a lot for this guy. I think he's fairly expensive. Isn't he like 70 bucks? Is he 70 bucks? I hope I didn't pay 70 bucks for this. It's not worth that much. But if you're just not paying attention to prices because you're buying all the Figuarts figures, he's a fine average one. There's nothing special about him, but he's good enough. So I'll give him a 7 out of 10 for the aesthetic. There's nothing special about it at all, but it's okay other than this and the lack of shading. Alright, so time for accessories. First I'll start with the cape just to get that out of the way. It's very similar to the previous versions of capes like this. I feel like this plastic might be softer up here, which is nice, and the glue work on the edge is much cleaner than, you're not going to be able to see that, is much cleaner than previous ones that I've looked at, so it's fine. I'm assuming most of you like these capes. I wish they had a stretchier material, but As they are, they look good, at least, and they have enough posability with the wiring that's nice. All right, so you get that. You get different heads for them. You get a couple of regular heads and then a couple of turbine, or one turbine head with the different faces. The one face on mine has schmutz all over it. It's some kind of paint application that I don't think is supposed to be there. So that's really, really weird. I don't think that's supposed to be there. I can't find it in any of the photos or anything. So that's a bummer. I have the worst QC luck ever. You get a bunch of different hands, seems like enough, and then you get the folded arms. I'll put a note if there's any problem using those. And that's it, no blast effect, of course. So, 8 out of 10, still a good spread, but we're missing a blast effect, which is like something that they should be including by now, and we almost never get them with the Dragon Ball figures. I find that to be the strangest thing, that Bandai has just never decided to include them. And they don't sell them as standalone parts either. So weird. Missed opportunity to make money. Alright, let's see about this guy's articulation, because there's some interesting stuff going on here. Primarily, this overly complex combination of ball pegs, double hinges, and then another ball peg. Why, you might ask? The only thing I can figure is that they wanted you to be able to do this, and it looks good from the front. So you can do a flight pose, and it looks decent enough from the sides, and obviously not like that, but that's the only thing I can figure, because you definitely don't need it for anything else. Like, you don't need that. But I have a feeling people are going to pose them like this in their display just because it looks super funny. But that's weird. It has to be for this, so it's not the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and it doesn't really hurt much. Like, you can just leave it down and still just pose it around. It's a nuisance, but it still works, and the neck works well enough too, so it does look like a terrible, tragic flaw, but it's not that big of a deal, really. It does do that, though, and that's funny looking. Okay, for the shoulders, like I already said, you can tuck them in real far if you want, which makes them look real dorky, especially if you do that. But I would not do that. I would pull them out, and then you get a much better looking figure, and you do get the butterfly functionality that you would probably want. I still think it's overly complex. He still doesn't get a ton of range out of it, but it's certainly fine. You can raise the arms up, and it's definitely better than what they used to do back in the day. So that'll work. It'll be okay. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbows. This is a problem. 90 degrees out of a double joint for no reason at all, Bandai. SH Figuarts with 90 degrees. It looks nice. They have sculpted joints in there now with paint and everything, but as soon as you bend it, it doesn't look that good anyway. And 90 freaking degrees? I can't believe Bandai okayed. So it's like some kind of big fat guy or a mech or something. He's just a regular skinny looking dude. I mean, relatively speaking. And you get 90 degrees. That's just nuts to me for a figure like this. Ball hinge wrist, those are standard. Now the torso is just a travesty. What were they thinking? They also connected the belt to the top, so when you pose them, you get this big gap. We had floating belts in this line from the beginning. They worked perfectly. There was no reason to change it. And now you get just gaps for no reason every time you pose them because the belt is connected. And there's technically articulation in there, but you can't use it. So his torso is way more limited than even the very first Goku, I think. I haven't checked, technically speaking, but I would imagine that is the case. Terrible, 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 terrible design. This should be a floating piece to hide the gap. And all of this shouldn't be happening. That's just craziness. What the heck? Alright, he does have a soft crotch, which is the thing I like the most about this guy. I love his soft crotch, and this is why. Boop, he can just kick straight up. All the way up, basically, and it just works because his crotch is very soft, and he can do that. And so that's nice. And the hips can look weird. They can have this weird flappy situation going on if you're not careful with it, but you don't have to. You can bring them in pretty smooth for a decent silhouette. Then going out to the side, this is another problem. Why, Bandai? You've done so much better than this 100 times, probably more than 100 times now. What the actual heck is that? What is this? What are those dangly bits? That's not acceptable, Bandai. You know better. There's no reason for it either. You can't see them from the front. They only work right there. That's the only thing that makes any sense. And then as soon as you go out to the side, they don't work. Even if they just went farther out, that would be fine. And there's plenty of room for it. That's a crazy, crazy situation right there. That's the ugliest crotch I've ever seen. Started off with a nice soft crotch that I liked, but then it got real chunky. Don't like it. Alright, thigh swivel works well enough. It does get a little weird with these flaps, but you do get a thigh swivel. Single jointed knee works nicely. This is a good way to do a single jointed knee. The only issue I have with this, and this is an easy fix, I don't know why Bandai doesn't think of things like this. They love to overcomplicate things, but not think out the simplest stuff. So from the front, it looks good. Once it's bent, you have these facets right here that you don't need to have. If you, on these faceted areas on either side, just made them curved in. Get rid of this point right here. Bring that flush. Make that flush. It would look so much better, and you could easily account for it when it's bent. I mean, you wouldn't even see it. So that's just gross oversight, if you ask me. There's no reason for it to not look better, but it does look good enough that I'm not like upset about it. I'm upset that they don't pay attention to do little things like that, though. All right, for the ankles, you get, maybe it's a ball. I think it's just rotation, though. And then you get a hinge, so it's functionally like a ball hinge, but you still can't bring the foot very far forward. Ankle rocker is pretty decent as a result of that joint, though. And the toe hinge is just Bandai. This isn't a good toe hinge. It's too soft and it's ugly, and you can do way better. Okay, if you look at the sculpt, you see those wrinkles right there past the pin? That's where the joint should be. Why is it up on the slanty part of the foot so that when you bend it, it gets really ugly? Little things like that are just really unnecessary from a company that's supposed to be top-end stuff. And I agree with what one of my commenters said, and I mentioned it before, that Bandai has become the Hasbro of imports. It's kind of the case. Well, they're not as bad as Hasbro, because they still have some really good releases from time to time. But they've also released so many things that should be better, and wouldn't even be hard to make them better. So his articulation is kind of decent. In some ways it's really good, in other ways it's not very good at all. I'll give it a 7 overall. This torso is a travesty. It's nuts. The toes are not good. Arms are fine. Shoulders are fine. Neck is weird but fine. Hips are almost really good but then kind of bad. It's just going to get a 7. Okay, and now it's time for the final verdict. I do think I would pick this up, not because he's my favorite character for Dragon Ball, but I would pick this up before Goku and Vegeta in terms of quality. This one offers a lot more, though it does have its setbacks just like those guys did. I'm going to give it an overall rating of 7 out of 10. There's good, there's bad. It's going to average out to a 7. It's like a C. It's a C. It's not anything special. You don't get an A or a B for having problems like that. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, but I'm going to be done there. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos just about every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.